Welcome back to my channel, Mama. Today I have Katrina Oakley here from Core Fitness for Moms, and she is a postpartum and functional exercise specialist focusing on diastasis recti. So welcome, Katrina. I am so
Hey,
excited and
Becky.
happy to have you here. Yay! We are two powerhouses here. I know you have been in the industry for several years, many years actually. I know you for a long time. I haven't really approached you, but then I know we're in the same space. So I really cherish this opportunity to talk to you and jam about diastasis, the clients that we work with, because we are very laser focused on the type of client, which is moms with diastasis recti. It's not just general postpartum. It's not just by helping moms to lose those baby weight. We are really focusing on helping them to feel and heal from core, from pelvic floor, from, those are the issues that are commonly not talked about in today's society. And for some reason, I don't know why. And people, you go to the doctor's office and they don't even ask you about diastasis, and if you have it, oh, just go do a surgery, right?
Oh, I know. And it's like we're second-rate citizens. As soon as the baby's born, it's all about the baby and not about us anymore. And we're the ones who have to look after the baby. We're the one who have to keep them healthy and carry them. And we want to be able to do that without pain. And we want to feel strong, and we want to be able to play with our kids again, right? As they get
Yeah.
older. So
Yeah.
I kind of don't understand why nobody talks about it more.
Yeah, I know. I really wish to not more than just like go and get a surgery. Like, look, give me a little bit more. I just found out I have diastasis, and now what, you tell me to do a surgery? Like, that's kind of my experience.
Well, I tell you, I asked my doctor and I said, why? Why do I still have this belly? And you know what my doctor told me? He said, you should run. You need to go running. I'm like, oh, okay. I ran a marathon because my doctor told me to go running.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that was not the most clever thing to do. Like, I put my back out, like, oh, cool. I can say I've done it on my bucket list. I ran the New York Marathon. I am awesome. However, the problems that I had based on doing that were not so awesome. So not the best advice, but the advice I
Oh no,
got.
I think probably the worst advice. Oh gosh. I can't imagine, you going a marathon and like when you have those kind of conditions. Well, I
Oh,
know
it
you have had a surgery too. Maybe because of that, I would love to get into a little bit more details about your situations and what led you to the surgery. Was it because of that marathon, or like so? And because I get a lot of clients to ask me, can you heal it? Is it possible to even heal it with exercises? Because I don't hear it from my doctor, right? And so is surgery kind of that route that we have to go in, because you have done a surgery. So tell me more about that.
Sure, I'd love to. Like, I'm an open book on this because I feel like there's too much of these two camps, right? Like the camp of you have to have surgery, you're never going to heal, or the camp of you don't need surgery
Hmm.
because you can heal naturally. And the truth is somewhere in between. It's
Mm.
not that you have to have surgery, because what I found, I have tens of thousands of ladies that I've worked with, and honestly, I feel like it's between 93 to 95% of ladies can totally heal their functionality of their core, not requiring surgery at all.
That's
So,
wonderful.
like, it's a
There's hope.
huge proportion that don't need surgery. However, a functional core isn't the only reason to have the surgery either. Like, I always think cut it down to three ideas. When people say to me, at what point should I decide on surgery, right? Like,
Mm.
at what point? And I come into it and I say that like, there's three camps. You either need surgery for functionality,
Yeah.
which most of us don't, right? Most people recover completely fine from diastasis if they do their corrective exercises, if they connect with their pelvic floor, if they learn to breathe, if they continue to get stronger and don't
Yeah.
stay with heel slides and knee lifts and diastasis exercises for life, because they're only like good for a few weeks. Then you have to kind of keep progressing. It's kind of like saying, I'm going to get really big biceps if I like do a 2-pound dumbbell. for 3 years, right? Like, no, you're not. You're not going to get stronger. You need to like move to 5 pound and 8 pound and 10 pound and like keep increasing what you're doing. Same thing with diastasis. And I think a lot of people are a little scared to move the needle. They're kind of like, oh, I need to stay here. So number one, you actually need to try and you need to progress. And I normally suggest people should be working correctly, progressing for at least 12 months before even deciding if surgery is necessary. And they should be at least 18 months postpartum before deciding surgery is necessary, because the connective tissue actually takes around 18 months to get back into its full rejoined and everything. So you've got 18 months there before you really should, unless medically needed, right? Sometimes it's medically needed, but in general. But then there are other reasons for surgery. Diastasis can have a huge emotional impact on people. Sometimes, you know, people are just so distraught about it, thinking that they can't ever get back to rock climbing or CrossFit, or they're emotionally distraught that they don't want to have sex with their partner anymore because they don't want them to see them naked. They don't want to go out ever again because they feel like they look pregnant and they feel hopeless about it. Like, there is a huge emotional impact. And I feel like that's a valid reason to have surgery as well. If you've tried everything else, like if it's really impacting you and it's that bad, surgery is an option. It's out there, right? And the third reason is cosmetic. Like, let's face it, we have boob jobs. People have liposuction, that Botox.
Oh yeah.
Like, why not have a tummy tuck and get the diastasis fixed? Like, it's a reasonable request. It's not a necessary, but neither's a boob job, right? Like,
I love it.
But it's not, right? Like, we don't, you know, you hear the mummy makeovers and all of these things. They're not necessary. That's something that somebody wants to do. So they shouldn't necessarily be the stigma about surgery being, oh, you had surgery, it's an easy way out. I just want to tell you, it's not an easy way out. In fact, I feel like surgery is actually harder to recover from than actually doing the diastasis work. But I digress a little bit because I said I'll tell you why I had surgery. So
yes, please do.
So after my third child, nothing was quite the same. And I was a Beachbody coach back then. So I was like really into the fitness. So I did a load of the Beachbody programs, 21-day fix, and then I moved into hammer and chisel, and I moved into like, I don't know, some other crazy boot camp ones, and I'm like trying to do the press ups and the chin ups and everything. And I lost a lot of weight, but my stomach was huge. And I had a third nipple. I called it my third nipple because anytime I ate anything slightly bloating or too much, my belly button would poke out like a third nipple, like quite literally a third nipple. I had this hugest like belly button hernia that going on. And it was to the point I would never wear a bikini or anything along that line. It was huge, but just big, right? Yeah. And then if I ate something, it would like a third nipple. It was not a pretty thing. So I decided, I've had my kids, I'm good, I'm gonna get my hernia fixed, because I had it from the first and it just got a little bit worse with each child. And when I went into the operation, it was an hour-long operation, you know, nice and simple, take it out, do the thing, get it all done. Anyway, the operation was over 3 hours long, because when they took the hernia, got the hernia, fixed it, but when they went to put the belly button back in, I don't understand all the technicals of it, but the doctor was like, there was nothing to like adhere it to. So I had this big like knot that I could feel underneath where she had tried to adhere it to something because the gap was there. Now, she didn't even mention diastasis to me. She just said you had like a gap, so there was nothing to like reconnect. And I had never heard of diastasis in my life at this point.
Yes.
So I was like, what do you mean a gap? She's like, you should just go to the plastic surgeon. They'll be able to fix it for you. I was like, oh, what are we fixing? Because I don't really know what we're fixing here. Like, we're fixing the fact that I have this knot that like I can feel from like these stitches things to like tie something in. They're gonna fix the knot, or they're gonna fix the thing that wasn't there, because can you put something back that wasn't? Anyway, I had no idea. So I kind of like forgot a little bit about like what she said, and I was like, something about gap, right? Like what does this?
So funny now that we talked about this, right?
Right, what does this mean now? So research, you know, being your best friend, as it always is, I found out about diastasis recti, and I'm like, oh,
that's what it is.
Why did nobody mention this to me? And as I'm researching, and then I'm developing more skills, because then I like got really into it, obviously, and I started like getting educated in it and doing courses. And I have a fitness background, being an aerobics instructor when I was younger, and a gymnastics coach and things. So it was something that kind of gelled with me. And I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh, so I shouldn't have run. I shouldn't have been doing all those crunches. I shouldn't have been doing all the press-ups. I shouldn't have been doing all the chin-ups. I now know why I was having to wear a weight belt all the time, because my back was so sore, and I was trying to bear out into the weight belt to do everything. Like, you know, I'm like, I wonder how much worse I actually made it. In fact, I'm fairly certain I made my own diastasis a lot worse than it was originally. And then I'm a gymnast. Well, I'm not a gymnast anymore. Was a gymnast, and I'd had a lot of back issues. And over time, after I did the marathon, which I shouldn't have done, but I did, I had a lot of back issues. I put my back out. I was having so much more back pain. I had x-ray done, and the doctor's like, what have you done to your back? I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean? And she's like, your back looks like an 80-year-old woman's with the arthritis all the way through it.
Oh my goodness.
That would probably explain like a whole lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I keep working on my diastasis in my core. I'll tell you, I was in the best shape of my life. I had a flat belly, as long as I didn't eat like bread. I had like no hernia there. I was skinny as, I was like strong as, I was like, everything was there except for the back pain. So I did go to the plastic surgeon, and I was like,
why though? Because
I was like, if I do go and get my diastasis fixed, will it help my back pain? Because obviously, whilst diastasis doesn't cause back pain, a weak core does cause back pain, right? Like there's corresponding there. And he was like, nope, it won't help. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, nope, it won't help. Well, officially, I can't tell you it will help, because it won't help. I'm like, but doesn't a stronger core make for better back? I'm like, at this point, I'm on medication every single day for pain in my back. And he's like, maybe. So then I went, and the tipping point for me was my daughter was vomiting, and she was in bed in her own vomit, and she was calling out for me, and I physically roll over to get out of bed, because the arthritis like really sticks my back at night. And so I couldn't, it used to take me 2 to 3 minutes of moving before I could physically move to get out. So my husband had to deal with it, and I was in tears, and I'm like, I'm going to have surgery. Like, I'm going to see if it works. So I will say, after the surgery, I think it's been, I can't even remember, 5-6 years. I think I've used pain meds for my back now 5 times. And I was on them every single day prior to this. So whilst surgery won't necessarily help your back, if your core is weak and you've managed to do your hip, if you have good hip mobility, if you have good thoracic mobility, if you have good breathing, but your core is still weak because my diastasis was 4 fingers from the bottom to the top, and engaged, it was still 2 to 3 knuckles deep all the way. So it was deep, strong, like I was flat. It wasn't for me, it wasn't cosmetic at all, right? Like
it's a functional thing for you.
It was a functional thing. And if I didn't have a bad back, I wouldn't have bothered either, because it wasn't
because it's the second surgery you had to do after the hernia.
I know.
Under the knife again.
I know it was, and it was a hard recovery. Like, I think that that's the other thing people think, like surgery is an easy way out. It took me over a year to be able to plank without discomfort because of the pressure onto the incision and the pain it was. I work with a lot of ladies who've had surgery as well. And they end up very tight in the pelvic floor. They end up tight in the hip flexors, in the IT band, and they end up with a lot of they can end up with a lot of hip issues and a lot of pelvic floor issues because of the scarring and the scar tissue. Now, that's not everybody, but it's common enough with the ladies I've worked with that I know when I see somebody who's had surgery, I'm like, you need to think that you've just had a C-section. And you need to start again. Like, it is. Not I had surgery 6 weeks, let's go and do anything I want. I'm like, you actually have to start again. Like, it's a hard road.
No, thank you so much for sharing that journey, that part. I feel like we have a similar story in a way of how we didn't know anything about it. We kind of do everything we do, but that's what people say, you get back in shape just by exercising. Like, we knew nothing about it and end up worsening ourselves. And for you, your situation, you have to go do surgery too. And I'm sure that was a very difficult decision for you to make as well, to do that. So I really appreciate you sharing that part. And so for people to open up, people watching this video are so lucky because you get to understand behind the scene what's really going on. Now, you mentioned a little bit about the thoracic and the hips mobility. And I think that a lot of people, when they think about healing the core, they think a lot about just core exercising. Like, what kind of exercise? Give me that exercise of the core and I'll do it. But they don't think about the ribs mobility or the upper back, mid back, and the hips mobility. So I would like you to touch upon more on that, since we were just talking about that, and how does that impact the healing of DR?
Yeah, and it's amazing. So, people come to you and they're like, I want to get a flatter core, or I want to get a stronger core. And you often aim to do the strength stuff because that makes sense, right? Like, it makes sense that I do ab work first. But what I found with the people that I work with, anybody who jumps to ab work very quickly tends to end up with either a really tight pelvic floor or a rib cage that kind of grips down. And I call it bread loafing. You end up with like this belly that looks like a bread loaf, right? Like it kind of sticks out the whole way. Yeah. And so what I found is that people who just start and do strength actually veer off the path and end up having to come back to it because they have overworked certain muscles before they've got their muscles ready to work. So I always start with, you need to work on your breathing, you're connecting to the pelvic floor. So can you inhale, feel the pelvic floor relax, and exhale, feel it contract? Because a lot of people breathe up here, so there is no connection with that pelvic floor. But in order to get good breathing, you need good thoracic mobility. So exercises like thread the needle is a great one. The child's pose, just working into thoracic area, working, breathing and moving.
Moving the upper body, right? Being able to twist without using
that. Yes. And then in the hips, I find like a lot of people are internally rotated in the hips often a little bit of a
What does that
fight
mean?
with an
Little bit
external
simpler term.
rotator. They kind of work both ways. So working in the hip mobility can really help, because often we have one hip a little tighter than the other, which tends to cause one side of the pelvic floor being a little tighter than the other, which then stops our abs from working. And I think that's what people don't quite get. It's like,
Understand.
why are you talking to me about my pelvic floor when I want my belly to be flatter?
Yeah,
And it's like,
exactly.
pelvic floor, step one, abs connect to it, then that starts working. So I love to start with mobility to help with the breathing, to then help with the strength. And it's the same if you're recovering from surgery, whether it be a C-section or diastasis surgery. You want to start with the same things: connecting with the pelvic floor, work your mobility, start layering on strength as well.
Yeah, so important. Like it is a whole body issues. It's not just the core, like you mentioned, just strengthening, because we have to align the ribs to the pelvis and the hips. And if it's too tight, then it's like doesn't want it to work for you. But if it's too loose, then it's like, okay, it's not really working. We have to wake out the muscles and actually make it work. And I'm
Or
so
you
glad
end up working the back all the time because your rib cage is flared and your abs are like hanging out and your back's doing all the work for you. And then it's like this vicious circle of getting tighter and tighter.
Awesome. That's really good. I think I got all my questions answered, at least for now. Do you have anything you wanted to add or say?
No, I want to share my story so that people learn from me that surgery is not required, but if you don't kind of go through the right process, if you're like me and start with like core exercises like sit-ups and press-ups and chin-ups and going running before you've actually retrained your core postpartum, then you can do yourself some more injury, right? Doesn't matter how far postpartum you are, you can always train your core, but you want to train it in the right way so that you can actually succeed in getting stronger from the inside out, right?
Yes, from the inside out. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And where can people find you, Katrina?
I'm big on Facebook, so you can come find me at Core Fitness for Moms. I have a YouTube channel. It's all under the same thing, Core Fitness for Moms. So come say hi. And I look forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, I'll be sure to link all the social media handles and Katrina's website in the link here below. But yeah, it was so much fun chatting with you and getting to know your story a lot deeper. And I'm just so happy that we're in the same space together, helping moms to move better, to feel better. You know, I know a lot of us will be more focused on the aesthetic for sure. So important. We need to dress nice to look confident, right? It is important. And so prioritizing our health is never selfish. You know, prioritizing us as a mom, we need to, because we deserve to look and feel the best.
We do. We deserve to be able to move without pain and be confident in ourselves.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming over, and I'll talk to you later, Katrina.
Thank you. Bye.